everyone, this is Bruno Bertucci here. I am married to Kylie Bertucci, and Kylie is a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Australia. I wanted to show you a card that we received from one of our team members, and this is it. This is from Nancy Hotka, and Nancy sent us this card, and we were just like, what? So what we love about it is that you open it up and it has an image down the back. And so if you look from the side, I don't know exactly what it's called. It's like a stage or it's like a scene, but it opens up. And we loved it. So Kylie made a version which she's going to post very soon. But I also made a version of this, and I am going to make one of these cards with you today. So this card is made again by Nancy Hotka, and if you want to check out her website, I'll post a link down the bottom here, but her website is Nancy's Nifty Notes, and the tutorial that she made for this card was from the 13th of April 2020, and she called this a theatre card. And isn't it awesome? It's theatre, definitely.
Just wanted to give a shout out to Lawrence Merman, who is a French-speaking demo. Lawrence was the inspiration for Nancy's card, so I will post a link to Lawrence's website where she has a tutorial of how to do this, which includes other things like photos and measurements and things like that, which might be interested you might be interested in if you are making a landscape card similar to these two examples. So thank you, Lawrence, and thank you, Nancy, for both inspiring me to make this card today.
But anyway, let's move on to my tutorial now. So I want to show you how I made this card today.
You might be wondering why I have it in an envelope. The reason is I just wanted to show that it could fold down flat.
It's quite a lengthy process, but I just want to show you this card that I made first, and then I'm going to make one that's very similar, and I'll show you how you can do it. So this is the card. Love it. Used this product, but are you watching? Ta-da! So I use quite a few different products here. So the products that I've used on this card, this framelet here is from the Garden Gateways die collection, which is available from the January to June mini catalogue that's current at the moment. And the paper, which is there on the inside there and on the back, that's from the Botanical Prints bundle, sweet bundle, whatever it's called. And the stamp set used on those three, so this is the leaf and the sentiment there and the sentiment on the back wall, that's also from the Botanical Prints collection. And finally, I'm not sure if you can see it, but on the glass here, it's very subtle, but what it is the embossing folder from the which is called Subtle Embossing Folder. And so it gives it that sort of old style glass look. So as I mentioned, the one that I'm going to make for you today is the same idea, but using some different paper and some different cardstock and just a few different ideas. But generally we'll be using the same products, and that's it. Oh, one other thing. So as you can see here, there's just a bit of color that I've coloured this small stamp in. And that's also been cut out using the Botanical Prints die. And it's just been coloured very quickly and lightly using Stampin' Blends. So let's get to it now. So I've pre-cut all of the items that we'll be using for our project today. So I'll just put that over to the side. Now, just to explain a bit of how this card works, we have a backing sheet. We have a front sheet, which is used, for the front and back, I used Thick Whisper White. Then over the top, this part that's been embossed using the brick embossing folder. That's a piece over the top. And then, as you can see, there's one piece that goes like this, and another piece that goes like this, and that folds flat, as you can see. That piece folds flat, and it opens. And so that gives you an idea of exactly how the card is constructed. So these two pieces on the side are actually the same width as the card, and that allows them to fold flat. So what we have are two pieces which are the same size. They're just normal cardstock size. One's the front and one's the back. For the front, instead of using this basic grey brick wall, I've decided that I'm going to use terracotta tile. So it's going to have a bit of a different look there. But then what we also have, so the way that when this is closed, you can see this stripy paper. Instead of having that stripy paper, we're also going to have some terracotta tile, but it's going to have the same pattern. And you can't really see it that closely, but see that designer series paper in there that is terracotta tile? Instead of having that as terracotta tile, we're going to have that as the stripy paper. And then the back wall, which is like the wallpaper on which that sentiment is hanging, that is going to be this beautiful sheet of designer series paper, which is from the Botanical Prints series. So the first thing we're going to do is we'll just get the front finished. So the first thing that we will do is cut out the shape. So first of all, what we'll do is cut out the outline, which is the one using this piece, and we'll cut through both of them so that they line up. And so what I figured out is that if we were able to just stick that together using some washi tape, then that would make sure that the holes line up. So that's for no other reason. This is just going to be a temporary stick, just to make sure that the holes line up. So what I'm going to do is just run that through the die cutting machine, trying to get it as close to the center as possible. Okay, I'll just do that now. So we've done that now. We can just pop that out. Excellent. So we won't need those anymore, but that's cut out perfectly. So the next thing we'll do is just remove this washi tape. So this is the die die cut the embossing folder that we're going to be using. It's a 3D embossing folder, and that's available right now. So I'm just going to send that through like this, okay? I absolutely love the look of that. Can you see it there? Isn't it cool? So that's going to look really nice sitting over the top there. So then, over the top of that, we have this other piece, which I'm just going to cut out using Whisper White. Now this is the die that I'll be using, and I'll just be using some Whisper White cardstock to do that. So I'll just run that through off camera now. So I've just done that now. Very nice. So that's going to look really neat in that colour. So I can start assembling this front piece together. Oh, you'll notice on the side here that I've just got these little notches. So all that is one of these smaller stitch nested labels. And the idea behind that is just to give it something that you can grab onto. So I'm pretty sure it was this smallest one here. Yeah, that's the one. So that's all it is over the side there. So I might just cut that out first, just so that it has something to grab onto. Just there. So that's what we've done. So we can now assemble this piece together. So I will stick that down using dimensionals, and then I will just stick that over the top like that. So I will just fix this down using some dimensionals. Now, before I stick this down, I just remembered there's one thing that I have to stick down as well. So as you can see here, there is this glass window. Now that's optional, you don't have to put that in, but I'm going to put it in. So I'm going to get some window sheet, and I'm going to run that through the embossing machine. So this is the window that I'm going to use. It doesn't have to go across the full back of it. So I'll just stick that down there. And this is the embossing folder that I'm going to use. So I'll just run that through the machine now. So this is what it looks like. You can sort of see it there. It's subtle, which is why it's called the subtle embossing folder. So I've just removed a few of those dimensionals, as you can see. And I'm just going to put this in just so that it's easier, it sticks down close to the level that I want it to stick down to. And I will just use some washi tape just to stick it down to the back of that sheet. Very good. And so I'll just re-add those dimensionals that I unstuck there. So I will just add this over the top here. Excellent. So to stick this down, what I'm going to do is, if I turn it over, you can see that it's just slightly bigger. So what I'm going to do is just get some glue and just lightly attach it to the edge there. It really doesn't need a lot. And if I turn it around, I can just make sure that it's lined up properly. Perfect. Just straighten that up a bit. Excellent. Fantastic. So what we're going to do now is make this back portion. So we'll find the piece that we need for the back, which is, so this is the piece for the back, and as you can see, it's exactly the same size as the front, and that's exactly what we want it to be. So the piece that we have that's going to be going on the back wall is this one. So it's going to be this little peekaboo down the middle. To be honest, it really only has to have the color down the middle, because as you can see, it's just that portion that you can see, just that part there, but I have it going the whole way. So I'm just going to stick that down, and as you can see, the peekaboo is going to look really cool like that. So I'll just stick that down. So that's the front and that's the back, and that's how it's going to look, and it's going to look really cool. So I'll just put that over to the side up here. Now, as we've got here, there are two pieces, one this side and one this side. I've actually cut them, and I've pre-scored them. Now, I'm not going to give you dimensions, but just imagine this is a normal card front, metric card front. And so if you have a different size card front, the way that you score this is in half and then in half again. Okay? And I had already pre-scored that, so that was ready to go. So this is how it looks. So that gets stuck there, like that. And the other side gets stuck like that. So I'll just pre-score these again. So in actual fact, when the card, that's what it's going to look like that. With that part, like that. Does that make sense? And so then that opens and that sits like that. Okay? So what we're going to do first is decorate the front here, and we're going to decorate that with a piece of terracotta tile, but that piece of terracotta tile is also going to have this beautiful brick embossing on it, so that it looks like there's brick on the inside as well. So I'll just go and use the brick and mortar 3D, and I'll go and run that through the embossing machine. So I've just done that, and again, wow, doesn't that look amazing? So what I want to do is I want to cut this in half, and I'm going to stick it to the front like that. Now you might wonder, why didn't you cut it in half before you ran it through the embossing machine? Now that's a good question, but the reason why is because I want the pattern to line up exactly like it does over here. So as you can see, that pattern lines up exactly, and I wanted to do the same thing for this. So all I'll need to do is just cut that down the middle, and I'll just stick it to the front of that. So I have my Stampin' Up! Trimmer here, Now this particular piece of cardstock is 10.5 wide. So 10.5 means 5 1/4 or 5.25. So that's 5.1, 5.2.5. So I'll just run that through. And I'll keep that like that just to make sure that I have it right. So just to confirm, it's like this. And so this piece is going to be stuck there. And this other piece is going to be stuck here. So I'll just stick that down now. And I want to get it as close to the edge as possible so that the image continues. And so just to confirm, that's the extension of the image like that, which is exactly what I want. So I'll just stick that down. Perfect. So that's exactly what I want. The image lines up like that. Excellent. So I'll just move all of this out of the way. So you might have noticed that these pieces are not the same height, that the ones in the middle are a bit shorter than the front and the back. Now there is a reason for that, and I'll go through it in a minute. So just keep that in mind, that there is a reason and it's not a mistake. So again, the pattern lines up and I'm so happy about that. Now, the final thing that we need to decorate is just this inside bit in here. Because as you can see, when you open it up, you can see it on the side. So on this one here, we have this terracotta tile piece of designer series paper. On this one, we are going to be using something really contrasting, and that's this stripy paper. Now it's the same height, it's the same width. So what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to measure how big this is, and I'm going to cut just that piece. So it's 2.3 millimeters. So I'm just going to cut these two pieces to 2.3 millimeters. And so you can see that, yeah. Excellent. So this is the piece, and look, I might as well just cut it out of this one as well. 2.1, 2, 3. And that's a bit of scrap we can use somewhere else. So they're the two pieces, and they will just go like that in the middle. So it works good. So that'll look nice. It'll just be a bit of contrast on the inside. I might stick it so that the black is near the leading edge. It's just a bit short, but that's okay. And the second piece, we'll do the same thing. Excellent. So just leave that to dry for a moment. So what we're going to do is, this is the back, as we know. That is going to be stuck there, and that is going to be stuck there, like that. And so we can see the card starting to take shape now. Now I mentioned before that the front and the back and the side pieces are different heights. Now this you can really see it here, that what we have is this strip to keep it in place. And so what we need to do is we need to allow these side pieces to freely travel in and out, and so that you can't see this strap from the front. So you didn't notice that that strap was there. So that strap is the height of the card, and so the card that's running in and out needs to be able to freely run in and out. So that's why it's a different height. So what I'm going to do with this piece now is I'm going to stick this down. Now I will apply, let's just check that we have the right locations again. Yep, that's perfect. So that's going to go on this side, and this one's going to go on this side. You can see that? No, you can't see that. I just applied some glue there. And so what we're going to do in terms of position, we're going to just have it a bit off the base, okay? And that will be perfect. So we'll just stick that down. And so the other piece is going to be the same, but on that side. And so the only aligning that we really need to do is that edge, and we just need to make sure that it's going to, when we put these together, that image is going to line up like that, okay? And so that's perfect. That's exactly the way that we want it. Great. So let's just set that aside. And that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. So we'll just set that aside for a moment, and we'll work on this rear strips. So there's a number of ways that you can do this, but this is the way that I've worked out is best. So for each strip, we have just a small piece, a thin piece. This one here is half an inch. I can't believe I did it on an inch. I'm like, how many millimeters is that? It's 1.25 millimeters. And so basically all we need to do is fold those in half, both of those. And what we want is we want it to be not seen from behind. So as you can see there, there's just a little bit sticking off the side. So what we'll do is we'll just, there's no real science to this part. So I'm just going to trim a little bit off the edge. And so that will be hidden from behind. So then what we need to do is to get the height correct, all we need to do is to make sure that this will fit within that. And there's probably a more scientific way of doing this. And if you have a better way, by all means, you can do that. but we just want it to be able to freely pass in and out. So as we can see, that's about the right height that we need to do it. So I'll just grab some glue. Stick it down. Now, the only thing that we need to check is that this height will be accurate and it won't be able to be seen from the front. So that's fine. So I'll just stick the other side down now. Great. So let's just do a final check that that will be able to fit over the top there. Which it does, so that's great. So we will just make another one of these. I'll do that in fast. So that's the mechanism that will keep the card together, like that. So we'll just put that aside. So the only thing that we need to do now is the stamping for the sentiment in the back on the wall. This little sentiment here and this stamped image here. So this is the stamp set that we're using, and we're going to be using this sentiment here for the back wall, this one here on the little plaque at the front, and we're going to be stamping this image here, which is like a little leaf with some berries there. So I'll just stamp that. So these are the two colours that I'm going to be colouring those with. It's Old Olive and it's the light Old Olive, and this is the dark Calypso Coral. There isn't a blend at the moment that's in terracotta tile, so it's a very similar colour. So I'll just colour those. And I don't want to colour the lot. I just want to give the berries the terracotta tile treatment. But with the leaves, I'm just going to be highlighting some of the shadow pieces. And that's about it. Very quite simple there. So I'll just get the framelit for that. So the Botanical print comes as a bundle, as you might have seen, and it includes these beautiful dies that coordinate. Lots of designer series paper in that kit there. So I'm pretty sure it's this one here. Yep, that's the one. And while I'm at it, I'm going to cut two of these leaves out using some Old Olive. So we've done that. So I'll just put these dies away so I don't lose them, because I have a feeling I will. So one other bit of stamping that we'll need to do is this little sentiment at the back. So let's do that in some basic grey. How about that? Perfect. So as a bit of interest, I might just use one of these other stamps from the same kit. And I'm going to stamp off first and use some terracotta tile. So just to give it a bit of interest there, can you see it from there? So I'm going to trim that down, so you won't be able to see all of that anyway. So let's just bring the trimmer. So we really don't have much room to play with. So I'll just trim that. And I'll trim the side. Wow, that was, oh, it's really hot. So we'll just check that that will fit within the opening. And that's perfect. So I might just cut a piece of basic grey, which I have just here. And just so that it has a nice contrasting frame over the top there. So this is going to be as scientific as possible. I'm literally just going to stick that in the corner and then I'm going to trim that size to suit. Perfect. It's getting in the way, that thing. Okay, so now we have almost everything ready to assemble. The final piece is the little sentiment that we're going to do at the bottom, which is this little friend. And I'm going to white emboss that on this piece of basic grey. I can't remember where I rubbed it. There it is. Perfect. still makes me so excited every time I see that. So what I'm even going to do is I'm going to trim this using scissors. Just cut a bit off the bottom. Excellent. So we're ready to assemble our card now. So I'll stick this down here first of all. Now, the only thing that I need to do to make sure it's placed in the right spot is I want to be able to see it when the card is open, and I want to be able to see it through the window like that. So the position that would be perfect would be about there. So this is the good thing about using Tombow, is that you can move it around. You've got a few seconds to play with, but won't need to move that around. That will be perfect like that. Oops, and of course I just moved it. So the next thing that we will do, that still meets perfectly, which is great. So I'll stick these bits and pieces down. So first of all, I'll stick this to the back. Sorry, that was off. I'll stick that one to there. Let's stick that one off there. And this one off here. And we'll get some dimensionals and just reinforce that stick down. So how does that look from the front? It's a bit odd. But anyway, that'll be fine. So I'll stick that down like that. Actually, it looks really good. I like those positions. And the last bit is that. So that's the front. Now, so these are the two pieces. How is this going to sit? That's going to sit like that. And now, if we turn this over, that gets fed through here, and that gets fed through there. So that's fed through like that. And this side should do the same. So there is our card. And how does it open? Like that. Isn't that the coolest? What do you think? Which one do you like better? This one that we made today or this one original? They're quite different. This one is a bit more bold using those designer series paper, but it's a very similar idea. I'd love to hear which one you thought was better. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you later.